Excuse me. Right, how you all doing? Before I have a little chat, oh man. You know when you get like really excited and you start like, ah! Right now, given my reaction, if my eldest son just saw what I saw, he would have been nerding out like mad right now. I could be behind, I don't know when this announcement was made. New Fatal Fury Galro game with my son's favourite fighting game character, Rock fucking Howard, announced. Yes, SNK! Samurai Showdown characters coming to King of Fighters 15. Yeah, boy! And rollback netcode across. Thank fuck finally! You can take your delay-based games and shove them firmly in your ass. I don't care what it is, if it ain't rollback, it sucks balls. It's just not good enough. Not in this day and age. Not after the last 2 years. Good netcode. And if fucking Nintendo have anything to do with it, which they don't, because this is SNK. But fuck, man. Nintendo, how will you manage to keep releasing games with such turd online play? I will never know. In the year that is 2022, get it together. If all the other Japanese companies go, yeah, that rollback netcode is looking pretty good, probably do the same. Anyway, so we're having a bit of a chill out day because yesterday we went to a theme park and I'm an old man, so I feel crippled, and it's been great because my boys have slowed to a crawl. They're just chilling out. Everyone's just chilling out, recharging. You know, wife is still recovering from back pain, backache, hurtness. You know, everyone's just chilling out because having fun is exhausting. But something has cropped up which has kind of annoyed me. It's broken my chill out. And it involves the Steam Deck. Okay? I know, I want to throw out there, I must preface this with, I know how this works. I know what this is about. I completely get it. I am not a complete nug who is just walking in through the door, that's never done anything on Linux before and kind of expects everything to work across the board. Okay, I know that's not the case here. I know how this stuff works. I've been playing around with this kind of stuff for years before the Steam Deck existed. But, let me just grab it. I love this thing. I haven't had it for very long, but I absolutely love it. As a handheld, it's great, albeit with my man mitts, they're a bit, my hands are a bit big. It's one of the reasons why I can't use a Nintendo Switch in the portable mode. Actually, realistically, it's not a bad grip, although my fingers cramp a bit on the top buttons, but I definitely can't use these back paddle button things, but it's a great handheld. And even when I dock it, even if it's playing games at like 720p, 30 frames a second or whatever, it is brilliant. The number of games that I can play is absolutely fantastic, and I don't have to wait for porting houses to bring out what is basically a technical masterpiece for something like the Switch to be able to play a badass game on the go or wherever, right? I can just buy the game on PC and it ends up on here, assuming it's compatible. Because the Steam Deck is a Linux machine, okay? It is running a Linux-based operating system. It's Arch-based. It's got a KDE desktop on it, and it's got a nicely skinned, kind of console-ized version of Steam for the front end, for the main kind of groove. It is great. However, because it is Linux, it's not running a lot of games natively. Most games are programmed with Windows in mind first, and that is why there is a nice kind of interpretation layer, is that the right way to put it, called Steam Play, Proton. And that is a combination of Wine is not an emulator, it's recursive, and DXVK, DirectX to Vulkan. What that does is it takes Windows calls, things that Windows is asking for, and it translates them into something that Linux can understand. And then Linux goes, duh, that's what you want. And then it does it, right? But it's not perfect. Okay? That's why many games on Steam Deck just don't work yet. They probably will eventually, and in some cases actually there are games that take a butt ton of patching to get to work on modern Windows operating systems that you can basically just run through Steam Play and Proton on Linux, because it is that good and getting better on the daily. However, something kind of scares me. Let me just put it this way. At this point, they are claiming 50% of the Steam library is playable on Steam Deck. Whether it is verified, completely compatible, working no problem, or it's like it's working, it's playable, but there are a few hiccups. 50% of the Steam library, Valve's entire game catalogue, or it's not their catalogue, but the things they offer on their store, compatible with this little device. That's massive. Thousands and thousands and thousands of games. My problem is, though, updates. Updates. Not to Steam Play, not to Proton, Wine and DXVK, but to games themselves. Because one game I really, really, really wanted to play on the Steam Deck was Monster Hunter Rise. This thing is fucking amazing, and it should have no problem playing Monster Hunter Rise. Okay? I have played a majority of my time, I would say hundreds of hours, but not quite hundreds of hours, of Monster Hunter Rise. If you look between Switch and PC, I've put in hundreds of hours. But I've put a lot of time, a majority of my PC time is on Linux. Because I have a Fedora Linux machine over there, right? And I played a lot of Monster Hunter Rise on that. You know, this control pad, yeah, and my Linux machine, and I played and streamed shite tons of Monster Hunter Rise, and it worked brilliantly, to the point that it almost felt like a native app. It really did. It was that good. So I bought the Steam Deck in hopes that I would be able to play, partly, I suppose, the newest expansion, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, on the go. I mean, Rise worked just fine, you know, so Sunbreak would, in theory, work. However, there have been some somewhat significant changes to lead up to Sunbreak, and it has sunbroken the Linux compatibility, the Steam Play and Proton compatibility with Steam Deck. Hi! Coming in from the future, I just wanted to throw out there that what I say from this point on is technically true. My main machine, Belial, Fedora 36 gaming PC, Monster Hunter Rise seems to work fine on that, with Sunbreak, with standard Proton, with glorious egg roll stuff, although I am running NVIDIA proprietary drivers on that. And through digging around today a bit more, you can get it to run on the Steam Deck. It's just a bit hit or miss. There was a patch out today, seemed to be a patch out today, looked like it fixed it, plugged it into the telly to try and show it off, and then it broke again. Then if I turned off the Steam Deck and started the Steam Deck again, it might work for a bit, and then if I plugged it into a telly or unplugged it from whatever, or restarted the game or whatever, it crashed. So a bit hit and miss, but the rest still pretty much stands true. It's not completely broken. I don't know, I haven't done a huge amount of digging yet. I don't know exactly what's causing the issue to cause it to hang and crash and fluff, but give it time. I'm going back to tomorrow. So where's the camp? There. See ya. If you launch the game, it looks like it runs just fine. It actually runs brilliantly. It really, really does. Until you get right up in a monster's grill and it roars at you. The screen will shake, effects will go off, hard lock. Straight up, just bam, gone. Dead. You can't move, the game freezes, sounds keep playing, your character, if you're online, your character just stands there until you get disconnected. If I do a special move, I'm a sword and shield player and I have a move that is like reuse Shoryuken, the uppercut in Street Fighter. I have a move that I use to finish off combos like that. If I use that move and it misses, so I just whiff it, I just like do it in the middle of nowhere, don't hit anything, the move works fine. If I do that move and it hits, no matter what, if it's small monster, big monster, whatever, if that move hits, bam, hard locks. Every single time without fail. And it never did it before. Only since this update has it frozen like that. I was devastated. Absolutely crushed. Realised that, I think it was like last night, early hours of this morning, and I tried again today after clearing caches, changing Proton versions, trying custom Proton versions. Just no joy. Every single time I go for that uppercut, it freezes. Apparently some maps cause it to freeze. Some specific monsters have animations that can cause it to freeze. And I was devastated because the game worked so well before. But an update has happened and things have changed, and now a game that used to work doesn't. Technically, we can say the same thing as well about VR chat. Once upon a time, VR chat used to work flawlessly with Linux. Pretty much, it was solid. It was a solid experience, right? Then they added in easy anti-cheat, and now some worlds that I used to be able to enter, I can't. If I'm on desktop mode, the worlds work fine. If I go into VR mode, I have to change my Proton version from what I could use for desktop. I have to go from like Proton 7 to experimental bleeding edge, and then VR will work. But then at that point, some of the worlds I can go into on desktop don't work in VR. It's just fucking infuriating because they used to work before. Or at least I remember them working before. Halo Master Chief Collection. I do believe that used to work pretty well a good few months back. Then there was an update and all of a sudden it stopped working. The fix to get it to work is really simple. You just have to go into the main directory of the Halo install, the Master Chief Collection install, and just delete the directory that says Easy Anti-Cheat. Just delete it. And then when you start the game, choose the option, launch without Easy Anti-Cheat, because even if you launch with it, if that file's in there, it doesn't seem to work unless they've patched it since. But it didn't when I last tried it. With that directory deleted, start with no Easy Anti-Cheat, you can play the game just fine. Just no online, but that gives you access to mods and things like that. But again, it's an update that broke a game that was functioning. And that kind of concerns me. Eventually, it will get to the point where we won't have to worry about that kind of stuff because people will go, Steam Deck compatibility is a must. Capcom will look at it and go, oh mate, Steam Deck, there's loads of people on PC playing old Monster Hunter, we better make sure the game runs, and they'll make sure they will get a Steam Deck in-house and they'll probably test it, because they want to have that user base. Same with Microsoft, they'll get these updates, they'll test them, and they'll say, yeah, we want people to play Halo on the Steam Deck, because that's more people playing our games, that's more money we can make, kind of thing. But, that's chapped my ass a bit, that I have to wait a little while now for Proton to be updated or a patch to be rolled out to Sunbreak, because I don't know, Glorious Egg Roll could probably come up with a fix or something, or as I say, Capcom could roll a patch out or whatever to get the game to work. But it's just a game that used to work before, a move that I used to be able to do consistently before, just doesn't work now, and it's infuriating. But again, that said though, there are some things that I can't run on one of my Windows machines that I can run on the Steam Deck just by going Steam Play Go Install. Max Payne, as an example, well, Max Payne's a bit of a duffer example, right? But if you try and run that game on like Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, you have to run patches for sound, you have to run patches for widescreen, you have to run, if you're on AMD, you have to run patches for your AMD processor for it to actually run properly. If not, you get like a JPEG error. There's a patch you can apply for that. There's a dodgy DLL in there, right? But if you're on Steam Deck, or on Linux, the only patch you have to apply is if you're running modern AMD processors, the AMD processor patch for the JPEG error. If you're on Intel, it would just run flawlessly anyway, because Proton's that good. Steam Play is that good. Eventually, there will come a time when there are games that Windows users can't play, that Linux users and Steam Deck users are going to be like, well, it works fine here. You know, Windows will leave some of those features behind that those games or programs rely on, but they'll still be baked into Wine. The kind of the translation layer will still be there, and they'll run fine. So, as I say, it's just that has soured me a bit, because that was one I was really, really, really looking forward to on here, and I can't. There is a chance that when a game gets updated, if it hasn't already been I mean, I do wonder, if a game gets verified, does that mean that the developer is consciously going to keep the game up to date for Steam Deck? I don't know if Master Chief Collection was already verified, and because now it isn't. I mean, if it wasn't verified or pushed for verification by the developer, if it was just if Valve have just said, yeah, it works, does that mean that the developers could push updates that would, in theory, break them, and then people would have to recheck them? Because I don't think people would have realistically noticed the Monster Hunter one right off the bat. I think many people will just start the game, play it, and it will be fine, until you have to use like a special move. It's not just the one that I use that caused the game to crash. And as I say, some raw animations will cause the game to crash. So it will look like it's running great until you hit a specific scenario, and then it'll hard lock. I can't wait for the day that Proton is good enough. You know, everything runs on Proton, because it's a fucking fantastic piece of software. I do wish though that more, now that the Steam Deck is out, I hope more devs will run through their games and test them on Steam Deck. They will test their code and against a Steam Deck and Linux machines, and you know, make sure things work, because I think the market will shift to stuff like the Steam Deck, to stuff like SteamOS and Linux, if Proton and Steam Play, the software support is good. They don't need to worry about reprogramming their games as long as Proton is good. Which is kind of sad, really. You'd like a native binary, but they don't have to. They don't have to pay a porting house. They don't have to do the extra work. It's being done for them. It's wonderful stuff. But fuck, I want to play Monster Hunter. Oh dear, I really hope if someone finds a fix, I hope it's simple the stuff so that everyone can do it and we can all get in. Well, but that's chat my ass. That really has. Anyway, I'm gonna head off, because that's kind of fucked with my plans for a bit. I'm now back to playing Monster Hunter on my Windows laptop, because I can't play on my main gaming PC, which, as I say, is a Linux machine, or on the Steam Deck, because it just fucking crashes. And I can't do full damage. My combos all fall short because I can't use that one move. And it's devastating, because it's a main part of my rotation for doing damage and all that kind of stuff. So, to the future. Hope you're well, and I'll see you all with a bit of luck in the next one. I'm telling you, man, Linux will take over. It will. Just because, like I said with the whole patching thing, Linux users won't have to, because Proton will have it all covered. When Windows leaves things behind, Proton will still probably have it covered. eventually Windows users will have to run something like a Wine or Proton style thing to get their old software going. It's fucking beautiful. See you.